Hello all, my name is Abdul Rahman, and in this video we are going to learn the core concepts in the relational databases. So in this video we are going to talk about how we store the information in relational databases, like tables, different things about those tables, keys, rows, columns, how different tables can be related to each other, and etc. So in the last video we have talked about like introduction to DBMS, advantages, characteristics, and disadvantages, what is data, what is everything we have learned about in the previous video, like what is RDBMS, relational database management system, what is an RDBMS, and etc. So in this video we are going to talk about how we store the information in relational databases, like tables, different things about those tables, keys, rows, columns, how different tables can be related to each other. So anyhow, let's go ahead and get into it. So here I have an example of a pen drive table. So this is a table which tells the specific information about pen drive, about each pen drive. Like here the pen drive ID is 1 and the production company of the pen drive is Sony and the pen drive storage is 16. So here it's giving the full storage specific information about each pen drive, like it's giving the ID of the Sony company's pen drive and which company, where the in which company it has been produced. It has been produced in the Sony, so it's a Sony company. And what is its limit? Its limit is 16 GB, right? So anyhow, so all tables in relational database is going to have two things. All tables in relational database, in every table database, there will be having two things. One is rows and one is columns. So with rows and columns, if I combine both of them, then it will form a table which we call relation in technical form. So as you can see here, these are the sections. So this section is column and this is the pen drive company. So this is the section and this is section. So these are the columns. So this arrow I will be showing you this one. So this one is the column. So this is a column, this is also a column, and this is also a column. So these are the columns. So anyhow, we have all of the informations about. So we have all of the informations about this one. Pen drive ID is Sony and its limit is 16, its limit is 14, and its limit is 2, and it's produced in the HP and mixed and many more. So we have total 5. So whenever we are creating a table, we can create the tables using rows and columns, right? So the column will define a single attribute and the row will define an entry. So in a single row, we are storing the pen drive ID, pen drive company, where the pen drive has produced, and the storage, the limit storage of the pen drive. So whenever we are creating a table in a relational database, then we always need to have one very special column, which is known as primary key. So first of all, what is primary key? Primary key is an attribute which uniquely defines the row in the database. As you can see on the screen, in the table I have underlined and colored the pen drive ID. Here I have underlined and colored it, and I have given it in the square box pen drive ID, right? So here this underline is basically going to specify that this column or attribute of the pen drive is going to be the primary key. So as you can see here, we have HP pen drive. We have HP pen drive, and its primary key is 2, right? Its primary key is 2. So now I am going to show you how primary keys and how primary keys can come in use and where it can be used. So let's go ahead. So we have the pen drive ID 2, and we have the pen drive company HP, where the pen drive has its HP pen drive, and the storage of the pen drive. Its limit. So we have these two things, these two informations, and here also we have the information about the HP. So these both are same. Anyhow, these both are same. So in this case, how can we differentiate between these two pen drives? Okay, so we can do that. It's easy. So we can see its primary key. Like for example, let's say, so when you are studying, you have like some students who has same names, same age, and same subject. Okay, and same gender. Okay, so how can you differentiate the difference between those two students? So you can see by their faces, or if the faces are also a little bit same, are confusing, then you can see their ID. What you can see? You can see their roll number is unique, their ID will be unique. Anyhow, so we have two pen drives of both their storages are same and the production companies are same. So in this case, how can we differentiate between these two pen drives? We have no problem. We can differentiate using primary key. So we have this small table. If we have even all of them are same, of same company, of same pen drives limits, then we can differentiate with the primary keys. So here we have just a small table of 5 rows and 3 columns. But in big companies, in normal companies, they will be having lots and lots of data, and in the data lots of data will be there, and in the data then tables, like they will be having the same name, same gender, same age, many things will be same. But how can they differentiate? They can differentiate the difference between those two things by the ID of the person, or the pen drive, not pen drive, the primary key. So that's where the primary key can come in handy. So we can see its primary key. So primary key is going to be unique for each row in the table. In each row, as you can see here, the primary key is 1, the primary key is 2, the primary key is 3, the primary key is 4, this and is 5. So each of them should be unique. But so whenever we have a table in relational database, we always want to define primary keys. And primary key can be anything. It can be a number, it can be in text format, but it has to be unique. It can be in any format, like it can be number, it can be in text format, it can be in symbols, it can be in string text format, anything, but it has to be unique. Okay, so here I have another example of table. So here we have, from the time we were having pen drive table, right? So now we have user table. So here this email is going to be the primary key. So just like that pen drive table, except it's storing information about users. Okay, at the time it was storing the information about the pen drive production of the pen drive company with the limit storage of the pen drive and pen drive ID. But here storing the information about the users. So here, as you can see here, these emails are unique to each entry in the table. Each row the unique. It's unique. Like here, example @sum.co, and here jokemail @sum.co, and funny @sum.co, something @sum.co, computer @sum.co. So these all of them are unique, and their password is also unique. Their date creation is also unique. So we have the password, for example @sum.co is funny 890 for jokemail @sum.co. So these are of all of the things we have. So it can be in any format. So the main thing is it should be unique, then it's known as primary key. So the other mail has the same exact email. So here we are storing the password, we are storing the date, we are storing the type and everything. So whenever you want to store the data, you should define a table. What you should define? You should define a table. Okay. So here I have another example of table, like employee. This is an employee table. So we have employee ID, we have the first name of the employee, the last name of the employee, and the date of birth, DOB of the employee, gender of the employee, salary of the employee. So we have all of this specific information about each employee. So now let's say we have a company. We have a big company database. We are storing the information about the employees. So we have the employee ID, which is the primary key, and then we are storing the first, the last, the DOB, and the gender and the salary of the each employee. So we are getting the specific information about each employee. So the first name is William Thomas, the last name is Thomas. So William Thomas, which was born on 1961, and his gender is male, and his salary is 1,10,000. Anyhow, so its employee ID is 110, which is 110. So we are storing the specific information about each employee. So here we have some random numbers that we have assigned to employee ID, like we have 110, 111. So it does not mean that anything 110 is just a value that we are using to represent the William Thomas inside of the database, and we would refer to that as a surrogate key, which is a type of primary key. So now we have learnt about primary key. So now we have another key known as surrogate key. What is surrogate key? A surrogate key is in a database is a unique identifier for either an entity in the model world or an object in the database. The surrogate key is not derived from application data, unlike natural key. What? The surrogate key is not derived from the application data, unlike a natural key. So unlike a natural key, in this case, for that we have to learn about what is natural key. We have learned about what is primary key, what is surrogate key, and now we have learned about what is natural key. So anyhow, a natural key is also known as business key or domain key. It's a type of unique key in a database formed of attributes that exist and are used in the external world outside the database. Or in other words, natural key is key that has a mapping or has a purpose in the real world, not just in the database. So there is one more key known as foreign keys. There is one more keys. So we have learnt about three keys. There are many keys, but we have learnt about still now we have learnt about three keys, which is primary key, and another one is natural key, surrogate key, and now we are going to learn about foreign key. So now what is foreign key? Foreign key is basically an attribute that we can store on a database table that will link us to the another database table. As you can see on the table, as you can see on the screen, I have the same employee table here. But we have one more attribute known as branch ID. We have one more attribute known as branch ID. So this is what we would call a foreign key. And foreign key stores the primary key of a row in another database table. So here we have our employee table, and I am defining information about the employee. Okay, I am defining the information about the employee, like we have the employee ID is 110 and his first name and the last name is William Thomas. He was born on 1961, gender male, and salary, and his branch ID. So like let's say that an employee, we have a company, right? We have an example of company. So we have a company, so we have like many companies have its many branches, but we have a company and we have some branches. So now let's say that an employee belongs to a specific branch in our company. So a company might have different branches and many branches, and we can store the information about what branch the employee belongs to inside of a foreign key. So the foreign key over here is actually a primary key inside of another table. In this case, it's a branch table. So I am going to explain this with a table. So we have another branch table. So they have the same table. So here in this, the employee ID, the first name, the last name, the DOB, the date of birth of the person, then the gender, the salary, and the branch ID. All of them are same. But I have another table which is branch table. We have branch ID, branch name, manager ID. So now we have an employee table and branch table, and in the table the branch has a primary key which is 231. We have 231, right? So it's the branch ID. So here also the 231, and here we can define which branch a specific employee belongs to by referring to the ID, the primary key of the branch. So this number is mapping this row here into the tables. So that's what a foreign key does. A foreign key is just essentially just a way that we can define relationships between the two tables. So a foreign key is just a primary key of another table. So here, as we can see in the branch table, I also defined another foreign key which is manager ID. So manager ID, and now this is actually going to be a foreign key which connects branch to the employee table. So we have this branch table, we have employee, we have these two tables, right? So manager ID is going to be the ID of a particular employee who is manager of the branch. So here we have 111, 111, and 112, 118. We have this branch manager ID, right? And then we have employee ID. We can compare with this. So we have, what is the branch ID? The branch ID is who is the manager. For knowing the manager of the branch name, like aerospace, for knowing the manager of the aerospace, we need to find the branch ID. So we have the branch ID, So we know the branch ID. So and then we know the, so we have two branch IDs, there are two, right? Then we have to see the manager ID now, which is 111. So here this is the line. So we got the information about that manager, like we have branch ID, we have the salary of the manager, and the gender of the manager, the gender of the person, and the DOB, the date of birth of the person, and the last name, and the first name, and we have got the information. What we have got? We have got the information about the manager of that branch, that is Priti Agrawal. Okay, so this, so she is the manager of the aerospace. So now we have like the third one, which is 112. Where is the 112? Okay, 112 we have, and we have the third branch ID. So the salary of the person is 78,000. So his gender is male, and then he was born on 1969, and his name is Edward James. His name is Edward James. So anyhow, like that only. The last one is DevOps. The branch ID is manager ID is 118. Okay. So we have branch ID 1. So for that, what we have to do is, not we have to do. So 118 is not here, which means the table will be mini. So the table is much long. So like that, the table, so we have not drawn that much table. So like that only, the big companies will manage the data like this. They store the information in the table like this only. So but we have some more keys. Like we have some more keys. We have, okay, so we have super keys and etc. So thank you. So guys, anyhow, that's all for this video, and I will talk about, and in the next video I will talk about some more keys like super key and etc. So thanks for watching this video, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you. Bye bye.